Hmm. Ah, come on. Right. Are we working? Yay. Come on, flip around. Flip around. Flip around. Okay, good. Oh my God, it's working. Get the thing on. Hi guys, how you doing? Wait. Hopefully. There's no chat history. Um, Everybody should be on. I sure hope. And you guys should be popping up right now. I can't see any of you. And I can check on my own YouTube right now. And so we're just gonna, see how that works. Let's see if I'm on. Yes, I am. Okay. Hi guys. It's weird. The technology is just so odd sometimes when you're trying to get it going. But it looks like it's working now. And so I'm working with a couple different computers because I'm trying to get one going where I could travel with it. And I want to thank you guys. So now I'm just going to get my phone call on, so that will then get the phone call people on. So thank you for your patience. So hi everybody. Thank you for your patience. I had to, sometimes with YouTube, you got to restart your phone when you set the broadcast up. It's just really weird, but I guess it's the name of the game. Thank you for being here. I want to see if, right, and action. Yes. Yes. Okay. So yeah, when you work with new technologies also, it's kind of like good luck on that. So that's why we have other technologies as well. And so thank you everybody for showing up on this February 4th, 2019 broadcast of the Kartron Experience. This is season 28, the second episode. And this is the subscription part, so it's where we're going to get the meaty stuff. And so I'm going to have you guys tell me how is it okay to really get, can you see everything okay? Please refresh, work. And so I should be working really well. So is everything working well? What's nice about YouTube is it does have slow latency now. And so do you have good broadcasts? Because this is going to be interesting with some diagrams, and this is where you're going to get the real deal. That'll be explained soon. Okay, good. On my computer, it's whatever. So at least you guys are getting a good. All right. Then let's get on with this thing, shall we? Maybe we should start with this statement that if you guys aren't ready to be going on to the full level of stuff, then it would be good to not participate, because once we trigger these things, then you're going to be kind of caught up into a cycle that will get you to the point where you can function with these energies, which means anything of a deviant nature or anything that is still not of a completely harmonious vibration will probably come up. And so this is something that Kartron's going to, well, I'll let him explain. And since there's some good amount of stuff, so this isn't just some guided meditation. This is about actually the working principalities of creator gods. And it sounds wonderful, but they didn't get to that status by having things not be progressing along those lines. I don't know if that was actually a correct thing. So this will be a test run, won't it? But once we start, then you guys get to have fun. This was cool. It's so weird. My My technology is not working on the computer, but that doesn't matter. So, because as long as you guys get this non-glitchy stuff, then great. So because the frequency is alchemical, this is going to be, well, alchemical. And this is something where things transmute from one form to the other. And so if there's any feeling that maybe this isn't for you, then just you don't have to start. Because this is where the completion of all the distortions and disturbances and everything else are finishing. This will make sense as Kartron goes along with this evening's or today or whatever time it is broadcast. The reason these titles are so long in the email, the newsletter, is because there's a lot involved. And we're doing two distinct types of broadcasts. One is introductory, and those are the Wednesdays. If you look at those titles, it'll be introduction to. And then the Saturdays are the alchemy of. And so that means that we're going to deal with the real crucible stuff. So I'll talk to you guys later. Kartron's going to come through and he's going to make this work. What's interesting is that this computer is saying no. So it's good. It's really odd because we got like a signal that's like burn your hair, microwave level here, cable, direct router. So life is good. I'll talk to you guys later. Yes. Often you will hear us say no words at the beginning of a broadcast. That is because we are in the receiving state of holographic scanning. And so your existences, being very multi-layered, have so many dynamics involved with them that it is at those moments of greatest silence that the most profound stories can be heard. And so here you are, poised on the precipice of this crossroads of this super new moon. And these energies that are upon you have been known to basically destroy civilizations in the past. But this time, there's a different intervention process that is possible. And it is not your job as beings of light to have to fix the world, as we have had many discussions with you. And if there's any disturbances in your life, just know that this will be able to facilitate the process of their fulfillment. Because now we are going to facilitate the process of giving you access to energies that are dynamic, not just the spiritual, oh, good philosophy stuff. Can you guys hear us okay? And so the nature of your existence here, why are you here in this particular broadcast? This is the alchemy of elements in this age of alchemy. The age of alchemy, because there's so many profound things going on with the astrological configurations that you are at the completion of so many cycles. And there have been several occasions where the human race didn't really make it. But those are the forces of a denser karmic reality. So the chances are greater than ever before that things are going to turn out just peachy. Have you guys figured out yet that not everybody's going to the same place? And have you also realized and you've seen that nothing is as it appears? It's like, it seems like there's all these illusions competing with one another, trying to convince each other that they are the real deal. To the point where have you learned that it's good not to really take any position, because there's so many positions doing their position thing that you as beings of light are going, well, whoa, this is interesting. It's all a bunch of chaos, and the cacophony of this chaos is so perturbations on the most primordial level that every belief, every perception could be obliterated and annihilated to the point of basically not even being recordable. So the dynamics are very intense. And astrologically, which is the cycle that is most used to measure the evolutions of, say, the human reality, this is a very profound moment in that time. And so, are you guys ready to proceed with these processes? Are you at this level in your existence to where you are quite willing to sojourn into those places? And at this time, you'll want to really pay attention and not just have a chat going on, because we are not going to repeat things. For the 10,000 years that we were monitoring the human experience before coming here in July 5th of 1994, landing on the mountain tops of Lemuria, closest to the primary temple where the ray would come in from the cosmos and then be diverted into the 12 temples, which then became virtues, which then became cornerstones of civilizations after the fall of both civilizations. And so it was that place that was most amicable for our presence to wind up here, because there were these dabblings in prophecy, interference, and basically hacking in as usual. And so after watching it so many times and observing this and holding witness for this and other galaxies, it was deemed that an intervention was required to come in and basically terminate the interference. And so we came in at that time and began the process of course correction to get to the place where the prophecy, which is that which is supposed to be ordained for, say, thousands, if not millions of years, could be set on course again, because there were so many disturbances that this world possibly could not have made it through. And when we say not made it through, guess what? You can look up Marduk in the spiritual teachings and you'll see what happened with that one. And this time they were not allowed to really blow up the sandbox. Where do you think your Moldavite comes from? It is the mountains of that other world. And so it was necessary to come in and not represent any particular side or position in this whole matrix, but to actually maintain balance within the matrix itself. There was the disorder that the declinations away from the trajectory towards prophecy was so profound that it was rippling into the cosmos as well. Earth has yet to be put online, but when it does, it's going to then go boom, boom, and you're going to have a very interesting dynamic going on, because the world will ascend in about that much time. And so it is just before that, the precursor to this process of imminent ascension moment, that all of your stuff gets to come up. All of these issues, all of these things. And if you think that your perception is set, then look at it again and see if it was the same as it was last week. You will see that really there are no safe harbors to go and say, this is the way it is, because have you noticed that the universe says, oh, really? That's so cool. That was a nice chapter. And so it's like, what the heck is going on? This screen is a little dimmer, so let's see if we can get it brighter. One moment, so then we can see this better. There we go. And so, do we get to pick the illusion? Well, at this process, it's interesting, Debbie, that you typed that twice, because this is what we're going to do with time and reality today. But in order for you to get a working knowledge of this and your Creator God training, it is necessary to have a working knowledge of the sciences that are involved. And so it is these levels where destiny is forged. And so therefore, even a small intent can grow very substantial. But we are not working on the finery of prophecy this time. You are being introduced into the process of engineering of reality. So we are going to give you a demonstrative example of this, and you guys will be directly participating in it. We're going to be bringing 3 deities that will be a part of this, and they specialize in this process, but they usually do it a different way. And so it is basically the 3 Moirai, or the 3 fates, that establish life, birth, life, and death. And so these 3 fates are the ones that even Zeus in some ways had to accept the decision of. And these are the ones that measure the distance, the length of that person's existence. And once that measure's done, then the 3rd fate comes in, Atropos, and snips that, and then peace returns to the soul because it is no longer incarnated. Unless you're caught into the other realm of the cycle that's closest to this dimension. That's why, as you probably figured out, don't have very much junk in your luggage when you go to the other side, because otherwise it's going to still be there. And so imagine their job of having to decide the cycle that a soul incarnating would have and what it's going to be. Imagine what they have access to as the fates. And the gods themselves had to accept their decisions. And we are going to show you how their decisions are concluded and made. And so, yes, there will be life, there will be birth, and there will be death, which is an eminent part of paradigm change. So here you are, poised at the precipice of a very interesting moment, where this new moon is a super new moon, because astrologically it is now at this point of a completion, not only of the last 9 months, which is the birth cycle, but the 51 years of 1967 to onward to 6,000, 12,000, etc. And it is this close of this paradigm that has often taken everything with it before. So certain contingencies had to be put in place in order to ensure that it wasn't just basically wipe everything out and start again, because what a messy, inefficient way, right? To, well, okay, these temples were really good, this estate was really nice, but now it's a coral reef, isn't exactly the most efficient use of levels of reality. So a different call is necessary to bring this in, and we're going to have you guys assist. How does that sound? This is part of your training process, because you're going to learn how to work the sciences of the gods today, the beginning of it. Are you still wanting to proceed forward? Please respond in the chat. So what an interesting dynamic. And some of you already know that you have always been doing this. And now it's like, oh, goody, I'm not so alone. Wow, we got company. These guys are cool. Yay, different beings. Wow, they're from different galaxies, different star systems, different dimensions. It's like, well, this is great. I got a lot of new friends. Because it's lonely when you are, say, working at a cosmic level. And so we gave a proper disclaimer saying that if any part of this doesn't feel 100%, then you don't need to do this, okay? You can just plenty of other things on the planet to do, because we're going to be doing very specific work today. So we want to thank you for being here on this season 28, episode 2 of the Kartron Experience. This is the Age of Alchemies, and this is about the alchemy of elements. And the reason this is about the alchemies is because it's such an alchemical time. And alchemy, in this sense, is about the transmutation or transpermutation of one aspect or form to another. And of course, in some ways, that's like an evolution, isn't it? And so the evolution of processes is that what the fates deal with? Because imagine if one mediocre life just kept going. It would so take away from the gift of the beauty of reincarnation, to where then they wouldn't have a chance to evolve to that next level. Well, that would suck. I'm stuck in this ho-hum existence when actually I could be really, 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 really having a good time as some enlightened being in another body or something. So it's necessary to have the regular cycles. Now, we didn't have a diagram for this, but if you look at the size of civilization's time, you'll see that in the civilizations of antiquity, they could last for millions of years and hundreds of thousands, and then thousands of years, and down to this little blip of, say, like what the United States is doing. Ooh, okay, 1492 to now. Ooh, 500 years. This is really big. And so it is this quickening of this pyramid, and it's going up to the point. So each time it goes around, it goes quicker and quicker. It is not like it, well, it's a decay rate, but also it is an ascension rate as well. And so let us begin the process with this diagrammaticals, right? Yes, the kaleidoscopes are interesting, aren't they? And this is the alchemy of this. And we're going to explain what happened in the last 51 years so that you guys can get an idea on what the heck was going on. Why was it so much crazy right now? And so let's do this. And so we're going to start the process. There's two polydactyl cats here with the separate thumbs and stuff. It's very interesting. And thank you for sniffing this computer. And please don't walk on this MacBook. Okay, guys, this cat has been very interesting. You go up and pet it, and it goes. It's like, yeah, just because your life is falling apart doesn't mean the world is. Oh, look, it is. And so let us get on with this stuff. So this is the super new moon, ninth wave peak, day of heaven, beginning of the end. This is the close of the age. And so that's why these titles are like the length of a United Nations title of a program. If you look at a UN program, it's like just, it describes the whole thing in the title. And so, where do you begin when you are introducing a subject matter that has a level of fundamental approach that is so different that even the way that you as beings will be dispensing away with corporeality as your primary reference? It would be wonderful if we could just say, okay, here, let's take this hood off of your head. Say, there you are. Hi, done. Next. But it isn't quite like that here, is it? And so we're going to do this as diagrammatically as possible. The first diagram is about this time cycle right here. And so this is this present moment of 2019. April of 2018, the 9-month cycle, is basically the a prominent time, and then it loops back to 1967. And so then it goes back to, say, 4000 BC and 10,000, which is 6 and 12,000 years. And so the next diagram here is all of these different threads of reality, different consciousness, perceptions, beings, covenants, all that stuff, started mingling together. So the threads were mingling together from 1967, the age of revolution, right, to now, 2019. And so this is kind of like the end of this class right here, this diagram, because it's going to be reorganizing the thread system that was all bunched together. And what happens is, so this joining of these threads so that this final moment of this yuga could happen. So three threads mingle at the end of ages, or ages end. Right? So each dissonance, and Patrick wrote this well, is a brine, B-R-I-N-E, for the other. Now, brine happens to be, what you soak food in or something. It is something that is basically a curing agent. And so brine is what you would soak, say, meat in or something. But the dissonance, if you think about it, it's like that which is dissonating and not resonating with these threads. So these different threads were very different. And so then you have this very interesting dissonance, and each one connecting with the other, mingling together, blah, 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 blah. It's like a very quickening at the very end of this final moment of 13,000 years, right? Was the thing which then tempered these things. And so what it did, for instance, is tempering the soul, the spirit, the energy, the mind, the emotions, the body, and the perception, and the consciousness, and the evolution. And so it's all of this stuff that's brought together now at this moment when the very final degree of the final degree of astrology is now saying this is it. So can you see why all the crap's coming up for everything? Because it's all like, take the dial and go from stupid to enlightened and turn it up on everything. And that's basically the user manual for what's going on now. Does that make sense? And so this is like, whoa, okay, here we are in the crazy moment. And so this 50-year cycle, how long is it in, say, a 13,000-year cycle of a yuga? This is just like a little blip, right? And so you're like going, well, that's interesting. And so the cats decided to yell at each other. And so this is also at this super new moon. There's a 3-week cycle that's starting right now with Chiron at the very final degree of the final degree, and Chiron is there, and the moon is going to occult or block 3 planets. And so during this new moon, we start this process of basically undoing the threads, because you can't have this mishmash to say, okay, ascend, everybody go home, because it's all a different vibrational rate. So consider, all right, let's say that you guys are now the working class creator gods, and you got to deal with all this stuff. How are you going to take this where you have a host and a parasite and everything else so mishmashed together that it's all threaded? And if you tried to fix it, you'd want to basically crumple it up, throw it away. It's easier to destroy the whole thing. But then you lose all the juices in the wonderful brining process. And so you have something that takes a little more temperance and a little more, what would they call that? The kid gloves or the gentle hand, because there's some very fine, delectable flavors, aromas, and other things in this whole chicanery of polarity all blended together. But how can you separate all of these things when they all seem so knotted together that you can't get it straightened out? And where would you begin? It's like everything's so knotted up that you pull on one and it could tear, and oh, what a mess. So what we are doing is going to be using vibration as a tool. We'll explain that in a moment. Okay, so now are you ready to then discover this process? So here's the example of this. Now Apple wants us to agree. Go away. We don't download iTunes. Thank you so much. And so Patrick is figuring out how to get a new computer working. Actually, it was a perfect computer that he figured out how to turn it on after he got it at a discount when it couldn't have possibly worked, even though he got it on Craigslist at a fraction of the price. So yay, life is good. And he can show you what he did. If you get a MacBook Pro and they say it just stopped working, well, it might be on. And so the key is, if it doesn't turn on, hold the power button for 10 seconds, right? Which cycles it off. Let it rest for a minute and then press the button again and it might come on, which is what this did. And so now there's a beautiful machine, and Patrick can now take this wonderful machine that has been his office and his life and his studio thing and make it for Angel Studios. And so here we go. First of all, the super new moon is one of the primary influences. The lunar cycle that's going on is very profound because this is like a super moon level where the moon is basically closer. That means its influence is much more prominent. And so the lunation cycle, which is more of a human type thing compared to the solar energies, right? So now we have a ninth wave unified field of day of heaven, which is the monad or the one mind. Monad is a Greek word for the one, and a dyad, which is the two, which is polarized thinking. Well, this ninth wave, Mayan ninth wave, has been a cycle that's been going on for millions of years. And so that's why we have the ninth wave often in there. So we are at a peak of this wave, which is now every 5 weeks or so. And so compared to thousands of years before, and it was the second wave, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, sixth wave on up. And so now the valley of it, the dual mind compared to the one mind, is this thing. So when we have a day of grounding or earth, then to get to the dual mind, we can take this unified energy and bring it in. So we use this as a carrier frequency in the quantum state because this is basically galactic radiation bringing the two brains together. Because the polarity is very staunch, isn't it? Because people are going, oh my God, okay, yes, it's happening right now. This unified field is today. And so then in a few days, it'll start doing its other cycle. And it's always listed in the calendar. So here's the 3 fates. Clotho is the giver of life, and that is birth. A thread is created. Lachesis, which is actually the measure of life, is the thing that measures the length that the thread that determines the person's life is, and then Atropos is the taker of life, and that is death where it is cut. And that's the way it's been conventionally, okay? So the end of an age, the normal version, is a completion, destruction, and fulfillment. And then it stops, and then there's a beginning and a creation and an awakening of a new one, right? So that's the normal thing. But what we're doing now is we are going to be actually the end of this age will be basically the unwinding of the alchemy, right? So the alchemy of this will take these confused threads that we have here that is bunched up to this new moon day right now, and we're going to separate them between the creation of heaven and the mankind cycle and the shadow where destruction is there. So it's basically like, okay, we're going to sort through our inventory, and the part that's basically done and so decayed and all that, then it could just be put into the bin, and the other stuff that's there, the universe is a constant state of evolution, of perfection and stuff like that, but sometimes that evolution means a backwardsness. And so what we're going to do then is we are going to invoke divergence. And this divergence is going to start vibrating these things differently. And this is how we're going to separate the threads without destroying the host or the parasite. And then we install a resonant dissonance, and then we have the harvest by the fates, right? To each their own. And this is the energy follows intent. Intent creates reality. Each goes to their reality, and the fate is determined by the self. Right? Because the person has spent all this time focusing on this in their existence. Okay, I'm an asshole businessman, and this is the way it is, and it's all about me, and I'm going to make a profit and screw everybody else. Well, then that's the world they're going to wind up with because they vested so much into it. Or I'm going to be this blessing no matter what. I'm not going to forget myself. I'm going to be a being of light. I'm here to be the blessing, and that's the way it is. And then I'll go through my cycle, even if it doesn't mean getting into my dream. At least I'll make a difference by holding that place. And so then that being would get that version of reality. So as you are at this very moment, right, of this place where the threads are completing in this new moon, ninth wave, we're going to take this and use a carrier frequency and bring that in and begin the process of dissonating all this. We've used this theme for several years, and now it's a really perfect time to do that, right? Because normally, okay, clean up on Planet 4, smush it, get rid of it, okay, and then there's a lot of stuff that isn't recorded. But this time, there's a very sweet, it's like the saucier, the one who makes the sauces. The very sweet there's like a fermentation process that's going on, as well as the perfecting. And so here you are. It's interesting. We are seeing double statements. And so this double, we got two computers, two polydactyl cats, and two different levels of reality. So this is the alchemy of elements and the things that we are going to be working with today. Here's an example, and this is not the complete list, but this will give you an idea of the type of framework. You see, when you are doing this type of work as a creator God, and by creator God, we mean that which can then help create, forge fate, destiny, la-di-da, all this other stuff, then it's like, okay, then you've got to know how to work with those different tools you have. And so you've got to have a working knowledge of these processes. That's why the Quantum Bootcamp is good. We've been slipping a lot of the information of the QBC in, but it's not like the full-on instructional certification that you would get. So the elements, some of these are matter, right? And then spirit. And so spirit would have three different levels: heaven, then ascended master level, spirit guide, and then an afterlife. So those are the three levels of spirit. And then you have consciousness, which is the evolution of perception, self-awareness, and all of that. And then, of course, light and shadow. And then the energy, right? Which is two different types, which is a being energy and a doing energy. So being is spirit, non-movement, and doing is matter, which has the movement energy. And then perception. So these are some of the threads that were put together to make it confusing. So imagine just throwing it all together, see what the heck happens, and see what comes out of the room after beating each other up for half a century. And so we are going to begin this process now, and then you will see how we are going to begin the process of the course correction of the threading, so that then the fates will not have to just basically flip the switch and have everything thrown in the same pot, like it's all moshed together, and then it becomes quite a loss. Not so much of life, it's just life and death, blah, blah, but we're talking about all the good material that's here. There's so many dynamics that were thrown into this mosh pit. You have the worst, the destructive consciousness. You got the evil, you got the light, you got the heaven, you got the spirit, you got the 3D, you got the multi-D. And so they've all been blended together. That's why it would seem so chaotic and you don't know what's what, because it's like, whoa, you turn and there's another level of reality, another one. And it's really become quite a marvel, these lives, haven't they? When you start watching all of this stuff, everything stuff that seems, this is way too stupid. Why is it still breathing? To, wow, that is like amazing. And so here you guys are in the middle at the point of the crux ansata where the crossroads happens. Yes, Deborah. Gold in them there hills. That's what we're going to do. The golden threads. The golden fleece was the thing that was given to, let's see, King Pallas or something, but Jason and the Argonauts had to go get it. And boy, Zeus or whoever made him go through hell to do it. And these guys were really good at beating each other up. And so let us do this thing, shall we? And so let's begin the process, shall we? The first thing we're going to do, does this all make sense to you guys? You'll be hearing probably meowling cats. For whatever reason, they decided to yell at each other, which is perfect, isn't it? Because not all of this is supposed to go on. There's stuff that is basically not alive. It's kind of been dead because it's complete. And it's the thing that seems the most boisterous with the loudest symbols and everything. But in actuality, where's the substance? Where's the existence? Where's the purpose of its life? Where's the thing which drives it instead of self-profiteering? Where's the thing that really gives it full substance, such as being that gift or being connected with Source? This is the compendium and the compository of all of this stuff. And so it's like, whoa. Now, in this alchemy of elements We are going to take and unthread these things with a little help. And you guys are going to be the ones who are going to also be facilitating this. And this will be your course, your class in working with these dynamics. So are you ready to begin the energy part of this broadcast? Yes. Now, it is an auto program, but the divinity of the shadow, as we've espoused upon, is that it has many purposes, but a lot of that is complete, right? You are seeing this being the brunt of this action, the effect of their causes of detraction, negativity, bad intent, and all of that. And so that's a parasitic energy that's, say, feeding on you and all of that, and it's like pulsing and feeding on the host. And this is what got threaded together. So there was no differentiation because the parasite burrowed into the flesh of the host. And it says, I'm one of these. And it would take all this stuff. And the host was basically the life force generator cow, giving the milk for this thing that would feed parasitically off of it. You look at this world and you show us what isn't parasitic. This is because of the direction of time. But let us get into this so that we can get you guys to get your positions so that we can do this, okay? So, first breath, we're going to soul. 1, 2, 3, breathe in. Involve, draw in all of yourself, all the existences, all of that stuff. Hold it. Circulate this around and exhale out to the world all that you are and have been. And so now fall back into the stillness. And so allow the stillness to circulate. Breathe in the stillness. Hold it. Circulate your spiritual journey. Circulate all throughout your being. And exhale out up to God and to the world. That spiritual purpose of your existence. Allow this to settle, fall back into solace. There, take a breath of the solace. Breathe in your soul light of your current existence as a soul, having a human experience, which is that which is impermeable. It goes all the way through every life, right? It's that spark that became you from source. So now breathe that in, mingle it, release its purpose. You guys realize we're actually, in some ways, renegotiating your covenants every breath because you're done. And this is the report that you're giving out. You're filing all these reports by breathing. And so this is the measure of your experience. And so now fall back into the soul. Let that permeate and alchemize your being, to temper your spirit, to become like God. Feel the soul take the pearlescent, circulate through you, illuminating the Son of God in your temple of love in your hearts. And feel the sun illuminate like a golden star within you. And this is then the 3 breaths that we did, and now the 3 trinities. So the 3 trinities are, you fall back into your soul self. And so now from that soul self, on the count of 3, you will stand also above the veil of life and death. 1, 2, 3. And there you are in the higher or God self. And then you have your you self that's in your body observing this broadcast. And then you have the soul self. That is basically the 3 points of the Trinity. Now breathe, we're going to do the breathing cycle like we did. So breathe from your God self down to your you self. Your you self inhales the breath of God from you as God. Circulate it
exhale to your soul. The soul breathes it in, alchemizes it, breathes it out. It's like a constant cycle. This strangulates you to become the pillar now. And so everybody, wherever you are in the world, on the count of 3, you will now then see this other sheath of energy around your God gate in the pillar of transformation. So we're going to put a column around you. And this is the architecture that we're going to use, because you're going to hold the place in a large energy field. And so 1, 2, 3, feel this energy forming around you like a divine column. And so now take this vibration and feel this field not touching your energy, but being a separate energy. And so you might hear a sound there attempting to open the door. And so as you take this sheath, which is like your presence, this divine energy from heaven, you will take this vibration and you'll see it illuminate. We're going to basically excite the atomic structure of this cosmic energy, which is the galactic frequency of the gamma ray field. And so feel this excitement of the atomic structure of these rays and particles around you. This is your presence that you will invoke, and you will hold that place for the 3 fates of birth, life, and death for humanity in a moment. In this age of completion, it is time for that which has insisted upon its own imminent termination to be allowed to be destroyed. As a part of the cycles of life and existence, that is a necessary releasing of this version of reality. And if you look at it as if, say, for instance, the human cycle is not something to be personally involved in, but it is a species that's being evolved of these souls that are farthest from God, then you see they serve their purpose like a science experiment. And once that's done, that version of that reality no longer needed, then can be shut down so that the next thing can come in, such as the new earth, or it goes to the other place or whatever. But to hold on to this version of reality then is kind of moot, isn't it? When you look at it in a cosmic sense. Because what purpose does continuation of an evil and a pain and a suffering that is not going to create any new information, but basically propagate more karma? What's the purpose of that? When it's so done, it's not needed anymore. Or someone is basically harmful to another.
Denise was looking for this.
She should be on. Can you send her that link? Because we sent it to you. We're getting 2 text messages from everybody. The same ones. They're repeating. So she didn't get this? And so, everybody, does this make sense? That to hold on to this version of humanity and all of its pangs and sufferings and everything else, why? It is your job to facilitate this. You're going to be basically the ones holding the place for the fates right now. Did she get it?
Where can I find you?
What date is that statement?
Today.
What time?
20 minutes ago.
And so, guess we'll just halt this process so that someone can get this signal. And so, everybody, does that make sense? Well, Rebecca, we've sent that to you. Would you be able to find that, please?
I have it. I already sent it to her.
Okay, good. And so, It is, that's true, Deborah. It is very much time to change it. The diamonds don't have a dimension to be on or a planet. They're the ones who got the codes to actually say, okay, here's the new earth, and this is where you're going to do it now, and stop all your stupid crap. Because you're hurting people. You're harming life. And that's not what you are supposed to be doing. And so, guys, let's do this now. As pillars of light, we take this sheath around you. Thank you, Rebecca. And so, does she have it?
I'm guessing.
And so, as we do this, guys, we are going to be invoking the three fates of the Greek mythology because they are very real. And so now, as pillars of light within you, we take the golden sun in your temple of love in your hearts, and we illuminate that and make it brighter and brighter and brighter until it burns away all of your flesh and identity. And see yourself turning into a pillar of fire, the core within that pillar of presence between heaven and earth. And as that pillar, a great presence rises from that sheath that we placed around your individuality, your individualization of your pillars. And let this rise up to heaven. Take this breath of the Holy Trinity of your God self, your you self, and your soul self. Breathe it in and breathe it out and give life to that. This is your unique code, your soul signature that you are lending to yourself as the pillar. You are one tone in an orchestra of destiny. And so now, as you take this energy, we take this and raise it up past the realm of the upper electromagnetic grid where Shambhala was in the lower stratosphere. And so see this rising up, this great column around you, going up into the heavens, almost to the point of non-sight. And so everybody now take this energy and you're going to see this come back as it goes into the celestial nature as we open up the lunar gate of the new moon, this beginning of the end. And so as we do this now, you then come and this pillar comes down, this great presence of you holding this. See, you guys are all references for the geometry. You will be the points where the mold fits together. You know, these are registry pins that they put a mold together when they pour it. Because this month we're going to pour the new templates for the new earth. Based upon the signature of the souls of light. And so, on the count of 3, this energy will go down to the crystal heart of the mother. 1, 2, 3. Let it flow down. Did she get it?
I think so.
And so as this goes, it's going to pulse from the crystal heart of the mother. On up, again past you, past that level of mankind, where this great karmic drama unfolds every day. And as this comes from the crystal heart of the mother, take this great pillar of heaven, this pillar of light, and breathe it into your Son of God within the temple of love in your heart. Circulate it and breathe it out up to the realms of heaven. And now each of you, wherever you are in this world, in your bodies, we now create a great circle. And this great circle of pillars now are the registry pens to allow fate and destiny to perform. So see this energy, part of your God training, everybody, is to use sight, to be able to see the energies, to be able to use the refinery of this to discern and know the differences of the energies. To know what even is, what's wearing the cloak of light, but is this deceiver. Is this energy that is trying to look and mimic, but in actuality in no way could ever get close to getting to the divine. So it always mimics and copies. You ever seen that? Anybody take your stuff when you come up with something good?
Yes.
Yes, excuse us. From this peanut gallery says, that's bullshit. We just channeled Rebecca. Because someone just took her thing. It's like, oh, fuming. Yes, the heavens heard that Scorpio clashing together. Click, click, click. Its little claws. And so this is the place of detraction. It is where the decay is. You guys are like setting up little apartments in the landfill. Oh, look at me. I'm going to put recycled roses here. They're kind of wrinkled, but they're still kind of pretty if you just don't smell them. This smell goes way beyond this planet, everybody. But we can't have a stinky gateway if we're going to open this up to the cosmos. So we got to make sure it's clean. That's why we're doing this now. So guys, are you ready? You're going to meet some old friends. These are the three fates. These are the ones that decide when someone's going to die. These are the fates that decide when someone's going to be born. And so now, as you hold these pillars of light, are you guys ready to begin the process of your real life? And so, Deborah, this is part of your God sight training, okay? So now, we invoke the three fates of Clotho, the giver of life and birth, the Cheshis, the measure of life, that which measures the thread and the length of a person's existence, and Atropos, the taker of life, the giver of death. We ask him to come, most honorable goddesses, that which Zeus had set in motion. And we ask them to now attend in mighty council on their thrones, to then be that which shall make this call. And we ask now to, as you come forward, to receive our offering as pillars, to hold the reference for what is about to occur. For a testimony must be made now, so that we can attest to this. And you, great goddesses, will be facilitating the process of the fate of all humanity. These pillars of light, these beings of light, they are that which are, you will be mentoring this evening. They will be holding that place as the references, because now between dimensions there's such dissonance, such destruction, that death even rises to the heavens. And so, as we do this now, we ask Luna, that portal of the lunar gateways, to now open, to open the gateway to then, on this new moon of fate, the beginning of the end, and in some ways the end of the beginning, right? Because it's starting the new cycle. Because remember, the end of an age normally is completion, destruction, fulfillment, and then it's beginning, creation, and awakening. So now, you guys get to work some energies. Are you ready? And so, thank you, great goddesses. We have this situation to where the darkness, the shadow, which is complete, is clamoring for its own demise. It is shouting louder than life itself. It is that which has taken hold of the weak-willed souls, the ones who have chosen to not move forward. And that is what is the stranglehold of death, choking the very life from the world itself, to the point where the earth herself could be in danger. And therefore, we must be invoked, so that then this, which is one of the greatest atrocities, shall not be proceeding further, for they are demanding their termination. And so pillar people, you will be also looking at the differences in energy. Okay, so as the goddesses of fate are coming here, and we're going to show you how we're going to unthread this crap. You see, Rebecca, this is what happened, which is a very big mishmash. Okay, right here, look at this. This is 1967, and all the threads of reality were jumbled together into one parasitic host thing.
Yes.
And so it's all so screwed up and mixed together that it's all bunched and knotted. And usually they just cut it away and just throw the whole thing away, and everything gets destroyed and humanity has to start again. But this time we're going to unthread it. How are you doing?
Good.
So we'd actually want to ask Soleil to form the Solar Council. We want to ask Radiant to come and bring in the Photonic Angelic Dominion Councils. And we're going to ask your other friend to come through time. Now, if you're busy, then we don't want to disturb you. But we will be asking your friends for assistance.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so part of this, here we go. This is where your God sight training, you have to be able to see the differences, then just look for the different vibrational, what's a little different, all right? The way to tell something that is like an artificial a mirror of compared to the real thing isn't something that you look with your sight, right? God sight is often called intuition. And so it is the nature of this existence that often has these masks of reality, and all this is coming up now. Have you noticed? If you haven't, then what are you doing on this planet? And so we ask Clotho, which is like the cloth, the giver of life, that is the body, the costume. The Keshes is a measure of life. You've heard us so many times say, if you've been watching us at all, that time is a measure of existence. It is that which we use to chronologically measure the length of an evolution, and that's what Lachesis does. Atropos then says, okay, done, evolution complete. These goddesses were specialists in evolutions, then determine the nature and the rate and the length of a thing so that these little incarnations can go boop, 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 boop. When a being in a human form progresses no further, then it no longer serves the course of the evolution of the soul, or the spirit, basically, because the soul is immutable. And so then it's necessary to terminate that, and often its higher self council will say, okay, this is done, it's as evolved as far as possible, now we're going to reset. And so this time it's time to do it to the whole of humanity, because really, how much more can this stupid last without really creating a lot of harm or maybe permanent damage? And so, oh boy. Ooh. Deborah Collins, Rebecca, came in at the beginning of the astrological cycle in 67. And now, Deborah, this is the completion of your life on this level, isn't it? And so, guys, as we do this, we get to going to show you, right? We invoke the spades, birth, life, and death. The key that we're going to show you on how to do this is death, life, and birth. Maybe you'll figure this out, but you're going to see it in a moment. Okay? So these threads of life, that these three goddess fate things will handle the bringing in of a soul, the journey of a soul, and the exit of a soul. We invoke them now. And so it's time to do that, because guess what happened to time? It got flipped over. Because as the word flipped over, as we've shared on a sphere, it spins the other way. And so you have this thing where time was running backwards. It was de-evolving. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, the Hawaiians would call it huli, just to flip things over. Because you have two different directions, a decay rate and a progression. So it is a devolution and an evolution. Does that make sense? You see, by bringing it in, there's two different directions. It's both conflicting and pulling, and everything else is like running into each other. What a genius way to do a very fine quickening on a multi-dimensional, multi-timeline level to hurry up and get as much done as possible Even though it was much more of a angst and discomfort for you guys, you are the tough ones here as beings of light to be able to do this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys hold that place. Call upon the Galactic Federation. Archangel Michael, please sound the clarion call as we open the portal of the Grand Hall of the Archangels. Saint Germain, please open a gateway to the Ascended Lord and Lady Masters of Shambhala, as we also open up a gateway to the Karmic Board and to the sub-councils of Karma, the Causal Board, Manifestation Council, etc., and also the Halls of Judgment. Greetings, great and mighty councils, and thank you for attending the Sacred Enclave. We are here now to begin the process of disengaging and dissonating the vibrations which have been so interwoven as to become one polarized thread. As we have continuously and incessantly scanned, and we're looking for what's left to learn. Is there something else? Okay, we're going to hold these opposites together. That which just really insists on being, belligerent and for death and a problem, and that which is here to bless. Let's just put it together. And basically, for the last at least 3 to 5 years, not much more value has been gained from keeping these opposites together, except for this delay rate of a timing mechanism. And so now that that is done and everything's held back, because of course you councils know when the light is unleashed, then it just goes zoop, and this other stuff says, wow, what was that? So now this holding back has done well. The champion racehorse is ready to go, and the shadow's been holding it and been very good at holding this as a timing mechanism. And yet here we are. Does humanity face its own imminent destruction except for a creative few? As was stated in that one thing, let's see if we can find this, because this is such a profound commentary, and it is so wonderful to consider life in this way. That then, is this something that's still necessary to engage? And so, for the record, let it be known that a new age should be where man learns to use the power generated by human togetherness and group interplay, that is, to use it harmoniously for the welfare of the whole, which the individuals are parts, humanity and the planet Earth. This has never been achieved and only very rarely attempted. Mankind today must make a thorough and irresistible attempt to be nearly destroyed, except for a creative remnant of seed persons who would have to begin again from a new foundation. That doesn't seem that efficient, does it, councils? And so here we are. It was necessary to do this part. At the highest spiritual cosmic level, this is the power used by the godlike beings at the close of a cosmic cycle in projecting the basic formula, the word which will start a new universe. And so let it be known that we, in our capacities, will be facilitating this with the fates of legend and myth. And let it be known that now it is time to begin the process of removing the dross in this cycle of alchemy of the soul. And so, councils, we want to thank you for attending this and witnessing what's about to occur. It was 13,000 years ago, approximately, that the Earth did have a physical pole shift, and thus the civilizations, the great golden ages of Atlantis and Lemuria, were put asunder, both received by the very oceans that they blessed. It was this cycle then which allowed the darker souls to have a home, and to evolve to this place, so they could then have the time that it takes to get to this place of evolution. Through the ages and the rises and falls of these civilizations did these evolutions occur, the fates so dedicatedly having to decide tirelessly the length of these incarnations to best suit the fulfillment of fate itself, faltering not, always having to deal with this got to the place where they too did see where mankind was beginning to start deciding its own fate. But it was these other precarious energies and influences that always had a hand in making mankind just this close, but not ever really achieving a free will consent of its own. Ironically, your councils know that to give humanity a full spectrum of consent means no longer will it be considered as separate incarnates. And so it was necessary to have the free will be framed within the perception of that limitation. But now, as you see, the humanity is evolving. And it is at this point, now it is reaching crossroads. This is the greatest energy that we have seen accumulated in the whole human cycle since the removal of those ages. And so therefore, this isn't just something to sweep under the rug and say, okay, destroy it all, let's start again. Who has time for that? Especially since time has been de-evolving and going backwards to the procession of the heavens. And now, here we are, at that moment of decision. The Lightworker is so tireless in its incarnation soul, knew that it was to be the sacrifice and the offering, the steward of the facilitator, the wrangler of the herd of the souls of dragons. And so, it was its lot, right? The greatest suffering was for the light, yet the shadow took on the suffering for the light. So ironically, this did evolve in its own way, so unique, and these souls did provide such a great wine from the fermentation of these evolutions and completions of covenants. Thus now, this is the age of harvest. It is time to cull this and take the greatest of these alchemies and rise them up into the new version while allowing the rest to go away. And we stand poised at this moment of this day in such a state. What would your councils do? Let it all fall, be destroyed, and lose such precious data and information that you yourselves have dedicated countless millenniums towards? A lot of vested interest in what goes on here, even though these humans weren't told about it. And so here we are at this level. Councils, humanity, if you look at them, check out the souls. A lot of them, especially beings of light, they're ready to graduate. And so do we bunch that together with this other stuff that's still demanding stupidity? Interesting. And who is to say what is stupid, what is not, when it is taking on a collective process of a darker possibility and transmuting it thereof? So the fates have done a great job, and now it's time to help them do their job. So the Pillars of Light now convened as beings of light in this Kartron Experience broadcast, season 28, episode 2, on this 4th day of February 2019 of this three-dimensional timeline where the new moon and the ninth wave come together to serve the fates this night. It is time now to allow them to do what they must. And in this, it is time to re-invert the hourglass, the great time, which is the measure of this whole experience. And how can you do this if it runs backwards and forwards at the same time? It is through this inversion that we shall begin the process of divine dissonation. And so, therefore, let us begin the process. We have Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos, birth, life, and death, now in this seeming proper orientation. Lachesis, the measure of the life, the thread of life, is also, time is a measure of experience, so Lachesis is time. And it is how long will this life cycle go? And if time is flipped over, then which one is correct, right? So one going backwards, which is devolving away from the cosmic cycle, and one going forwards, which is evolving towards to follow the procession of the heavens. Which one is correct and which one shall be? This de-evolution does serve a good purpose to allow greater fermentation, and maybe a greater wine shall come of it. But truly now, this is complete, and there is the time for the harvest. So let us begin. Clotho, we now ask you to begin the process of opening the first gate of fate. At the top of the hourglass, Lachesis, could you please do the bottleneck? And Atropos, could you please do the bottom? And now through the Lachesis timeline, we then do the reverse. So Atropos, death, termination, completion. At the top, please now open that gateway of death. Lachesis, could you please be the measure at the bottleneck? And Clotho, could you please then begin the birth? So you see, everyone, this is basically an inverted time chart which covers both directions of time, backwards and forwards. And so therefore, let these pillars of light in the Kartron experience now hold this place. Okay, guys, now you, who've on your Creator God training of this broadcast, you're going to hold this place. You're going to let the energy pass through beyond you, okay, not through you. All right, so you're just going to hold the place. Let the process happen, because you don't want to get in the way of this energy that's for the whole world. You'll have one heck of a quantum headache, and that's if you actually still stay sane. So it's not good to really dabble into it, unless you're made of that stuff. You're like, oh, goody, now I get to have fun. Okay, time is the measure of experience, right? So as we do an inversion, we're going to separate the threads that have been mishmashed together in the last 51 years. All of Deborah Collins' life. Does that explain it, Deborah? And so, everybody, we ask the fates now to open the gates in both reverse directions. So birth becomes death, death becomes birth, and time becomes the measure of all. Both directions, the Alpha and the Omega joining together at the genesis and the conclusion of this yuga. We now create a structure of chronology. And it is this then, that when we flip this time over, that this will shake loose and begin dissonating the different threads that have been so merged together. And these threads are, these elements and threads are matter, spirit, which is heaven, ascended master, and afterlife, consciousness, light, shadow, energy, which is the process of kinetic and potentiality, and then how it is perceived. So let us begin the process. Pillars, you are holding the place at both hourglasses, okay? Because guess what? One is the other. And so we project you here, and we project you here on the other side after the inversion. So see yourself being in both places now. And now we are going to join together in a sympathetic resonance, because a resonant frequency occupies the same quantum space no matter the distance or location in creation. And so here you are, both in this omega of this alpha and the alpha of this omega. And so now we take this and take the above and turn it into the below, and we invert it. We don't just flip it over. We do a loop-de-loop. Okay, everybody? That's what's going to begin the dissonating and remove the parasite from the host. And so now, everybody, 1, 2, 3, we have life go looping around to life and also to death. And we take death and have it go to death and also to life. 1, 2, 3, we take this hologram and we take this grand process, and you, as the pillars, will hold these registry, and you will take this energy, and as we do this, we take the great measure and we re-flip time over. And those souls that are aligned with forward measure of time now have this place this design, this realm, this dimension, this world to come to, because we opened the gateway of corrected forward time within the pillars, within you guys. So 1, 2, 3, feel this corrected timeline before the flip that is according to the progression of spirit, to the evolution of this, to the procession of the heavens. This is backwards time. That's why time is money. Money is the substanceless creature. It's the most popular interchange because it's made to be your interchange of energy with the universe, with creation itself, right? The proper chronological procession, which is still required as a chronological measure of time, Lakeshis, then is that which gets corrected this evening. And as this does and as it gets going, we will let this go until the next day, a Saturday, when you get your next Creator God training, that then you will be holding that space and the energy will transfer. So these are paradigm pieces: education, consciousness, economics, government, society, environment, structure, infrastructure, and all these other things. It's time to take the best of this, right? Because there was basically a shutting on the highest divine possibility to hold it down, because the parasite was feeding on the host. They had to put it, pile it on. So this week will be to start unthreading, because for a 3-week process, this is the end of this. This is the beginning of this end. Chiron will be activating this. And this is where we are choosing not to destroy the light, and the other stuff will be left to its own devices. It is not your place to decide the fate. These things decide their own. You don't have to help them along. They're doing just fine. By not holding on to this version of the world, it gives it the free will choice to go to its own destiny. And you, not holding on to this, then become available to do such great work as to help the fates right matter and spirit and time itself. This is who you are. You are facilitating the destiny of the gods. It is time that you, as beings of light, go home. But first, you will hold that pillar on that pathway to the exodus to the new world. And this is who you are. You are the gift of the gods to humanity, and we are honored to know you. So, councils, let it be known that our conclusion is only that we can see that to each their own, like to like, and as this correction occurs, the parasite is removed from the host energy, and that which it is aligned with goes to itself, and that which is intended on its own making, as we had stated, the harvest by the fates, as we install the resonant dissonance, right? To each their own. Energy follows intent. Intent creates reality. Each goes to their reality. The fate is determined by the self. And so, therefore, let it be known that these beings are ready to go to their own judgments, to their own fates, to their own blessings, to their own prophecy. And this is the day of the separation. This we leave you with, counsels, and we ask you to monitor this. And if you see that it is necessary to facilitate this in a more efficient manner, these light beings, they need a vacation. They need economics. They need this stuff in the material world. The soul could not express without, because it was all this detraction that was saying no, no, no. But the souls of light are yes, yes, yes. And so, therefore, if they are not welcome here, let this light go home. Let this light come here, and let the shadow go to its own realm, which we ourselves have forged since the 1990s. And now they have a world to go to, and stop messing with the earth and the beings of light. Unless your councils want to take on the responsibility and accountability of letting this continue beyond its due, then this is what we very strongly recommend. And we ask the fates to oversee all of our actions, because truly they are wise. Why else would they be set in motion the nature of existence itself of this world? We are complete. Your assignment, those who are in your training, is to discern the different energies so that you can then start seeing what is what. This will create a perception so that you will know what is very different, and sometimes it's very subtle. So the most advanced God sight will be sometimes the quietest and least noticeable. And so this will be removing the different qualities of soul, spirit, mind, emotion, body, energy, perception, consciousness, and this results in evolution. So this will be your God Sight Week training, and this will then help you to discern and see these things. Death will go to death, life will go to life, and time will still measure the all. We want to thank you for attending, everyone. This is Kartron. We are complete, and you will be given these interesting things. We are setting them up so that we'll talk about that later. Have a nice day and a wonderful ascension. Farewell. Hi, guys. Every message is repeated. Every message is repeated. It's like two different realities. Wow. Guys, thank you so much. This has been interesting. This is just the first subscription broadcast. The fates will do their job. As pillars, you will hold it and just sit back and observe, because you have to have the God sight so that you can then kind of discern and see what's going on. There's stuff that's very subtle, but use this God sight, the inside one, right? And if it doesn't resonate 100%, then there's something else, right? So just if it's 100%, then great. But we always choose, it's got to feel right on all levels. If not, then just see what's happening. Maybe not just jump into something, because there's a lot of stuff that wants to make you hurry up, and you're not in the world's hurry. And so just know, everybody, you're not behind schedule. You're not, missing the boat. You're not, not doing something. You're perfectly on schedule for what you're doing. Look at everything you're dealing with. You guys are doing great. So just know you are perfectly timed, because time itself will soon no longer apply, and then you'll get into the moment. And that's a whole different thing to learn, which is how to flow in that moment to where you can create a synchronicity and begin the process of engineering your own dream life. But right now, we got some stuff to clean up for the fates. These goddesses are cool. Everybody's like, oh no. But I'm thinking, yeah, baby, work it. So how are you guys doing? And so it's like, yeah, I am not in your hurry. That was a bumper sticker in Hawaii. Because it's like, and another one was, it's an island. What's your hurry? It's like, yeah. Another one was, if it's tourist season, how come I can't hunt them? But that was another thing. And so we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you very much. Your support is really making this possible. And it's interesting. We've got two computers, a double chat, two polydactyl cats. What is going on? Well, there's two different realities happening at the same time. Let me know what's happening. Kartron999@gmail.com, patmac33@gmail.com. And wow, this was good. The next Wednesday will be the next one, I believe. And so that's going to be another yummy And so, oh, we'll talk to you guys later. Life is good. Have a nice day and a wonderful ascension, as the Kartron would say. Goodbye.